All right, let's get right into it. Welcome to this explainer. I am absolutely thrilled to have you here today. Look, whether you're actively tracking defense tech, watching market investments, or honestly just curious about the future of global security, this is a case study you absolutely need to hear. Today, we're unpacking a truly massive, transformational year for AeroVironment by looking at their record-breaking fiscal year 2026. And we're not just going to skim the top-line numbers. We are really dissecting the anatomy of a breakout here. We'll look at the financials, sure, but also their rapidly evolving tech and the incredibly aggressive scale-up they're doing to meet what they call unprecedented global demand.
Okay, let's dive into this. 133%. That is the staggering year-over-year jump in AeroVironment's fourth quarter revenue, hitting a record $642 million. I mean, in the defense and aerospace sector, a quarterly revenue spike like that is absolutely massive. It essentially sends a shockwave through the market, signaling a really fundamental shift, not just in the company's trajectory, but in the entire industry's demand for uncrewed systems.
So here's how we're going to break this down today. First, the blowout quarter. Second, the arsenal. Third, the scale-up. And finally, the horizon. Let's get to it.
Starting with Part 1, the blowout quarter, a record-breaking fiscal 2026. Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the organic growth. Yes, AeroVironment made some major acquisitions recently that definitely boosted that headline 133% figure. But even if you strip all those acquisitions out, their organic revenue still grew by an incredibly strong 31% in the fourth quarter and 30% for the full year. They practically touched the $2 billion mark in total FY26 revenue. On top of that, their adjusted EBITDA, which is basically their core operating profit, more than doubled to $140 million. That is a highly profitable 22% margin. And their core profit per share came in at $184, which completely crushed the analyst consensus estimate of $147. They are just operating with unbelievable efficiency right now.
And, well, you better believe the financial markets noticed. The stock saw an immediate 14.1% bump right out of the gate following the earnings release. Investors were clearly reacting to more than just the strong Q4 returns. They were looking at the incredibly high demand signals coming from the company's backlog, which right now is sitting at a really robust $2.7 billion.
Moving on to Part 2, the arsenal. Let's explore the tech and the acquisitions actually fulfilling massive contracts, like the Pentagon's Replicator initiative. This right here is the core of what's driving their autonomous systems segment. And keep in mind, that segment alone generated $492 million in Q4 revenue. This is the Switchblade family of loitering munitions. It's essentially their flagship product. Think of it as a smart, camera-equipped, precision-guided missile. It literally loiters over a battlefield, identifies a target, and then strikes with absolute precision. It's combat-proven, and the global demand for it is through the roof. But they're definitely not stopping there. They're making sure they have a scalable tool for literally every threat level. If you need to defeat heavy armor, well, you've got the long-endurance Switchblade 600 Block 2, which gives you 20% longer flight times. Need a medium-range solution? There's the brand-new Switchblade 400, which has a rocket-assisted takeoff to penetrate heavily armored targets. And if you need extreme portability, the new Switchblade 300 Block 20 weighs just 7.2 pounds. It literally fits in a backpack and packs a new explosively formed penetrator payload. Now, modern warfare isn't just about deploying these autonomous systems, right? It's also about defending against them. So AeroVironment has built out a highly comprehensive counter-UAS, or counter-drone, defense matrix. Their pitch is basically that no single tool stops every threat, so they give you 3 layers. Step 1 is Titan, a radio frequency jamming system. And get this, sales for Titan actually doubled year over year. Step 2 is Locust. This is an advanced directed energy laser weapon, and it recently had a 100% success rate in maritime demos. Finally, Step 3 is Freedom Eagle 1, a kinetic interceptor missile that just physically destroys the incoming threat.
And this brilliantly illustrates a fundamental strategic shift for the company. Just look at the legacy business on top. Incredibly successful, for sure, but it was primarily focused on tactical drones like the Puma and Jump 20X, along with the Switchblade. Now look at the portfolio post-BlueHalo acquisition. By bringing in BlueHalo, AeroVironment completely transformed. They went from being a premier drone maker to a full-spectrum, multi-domain defense contractor. They've added advanced space systems, cyber mission solutions, and directed energy to the whole shebang. It's a real game changer.
But of course, having the best tech in the world means nothing if you don't have the capacity to build it. That brings us to Part 3, the scale-up.
Let's move to and see how this builds, because there has been just an incredible leap in manufacturing capacity for the Switchblade 600. I mean, just in the past year, they were making about 40 systems per month. Today,
They've accelerated that to 240 systems a month. But wait, with the growing demand from U.S. and allied forces, they are expecting production to grow to over 1,200 systems per month in the near future. That is the absolute definition of scaling up.
So how do they actually hit those ambitious numbers? By executing a massive physical expansion all across the United States. They're opening a next-generation manufacturing facility in Salt Lake City, Utah, coming online in spring 2027, with a staggering $2 billion annual Switchblade capacity. Over in Huntsville, Alabama, they're scaling up production for that Freedom Eagle 1 missile. And in Albuquerque, New Mexico, they're dropping a $30 million investment to expand Locust laser production. To build all of this out, the company expects capital expenditures, meaning heavy reinvestment into their own factories and equipment, to hit between 12% and 14% of their total revenue in fiscal 2027,
which perfectly leads us into part 4, the horizon. Let's look at the FY 2027 outlook and see what the market is saying.
Here's the official guidance for fiscal 2027. Management is guiding for total revenue between $2.125 and $2.225 billion. That's about 10% year-over-year growth at the midpoint. Adjusted EBITDA is expected to stay very healthy, right around $305 to $325 million. However, I really want to draw your attention down to the free cash flow. Notice that it's expected to be negative for the year. Now, why is that? Well, because, like we just talked about, they are heavily reinvesting their profits, that 12 to 14% in CapEx, to build those massive new factories. They are clearly prioritizing long-term market capture over near-term cash generation. Also, just as a quick aside, it's worth noting this guidance assumes a delayed defense budget and actually excludes any extra funding from reconciliation bills.
So the crucial point is, how are the financial markets interpreting all of this? Let's try to impartially contrast the two competing narratives here. The bull case points to a fair value estimate of around $280 per share. They look at the unprecedented multi-year global demand for these loitering munitions and counter-drone tech, plus the super successful integration of BlueHalo. But the bear case highlights that the stock is currently trading at a very rich 54 times earnings multiple. That's a valuation you usually only see with high-flying software tech stocks. The bears also point to risks like potential defense budget delays, supply chain bottlenecks, and of course that negative near-term free cash flow from all the heavy factory spending.
It really is a fascinating juxtaposition, isn't it? You have this incredible, highly tangible industrial scale-up going head-to-head against a very premium market valuation. Which leaves us with this final, kind of provocative thought to consider. With all these massive factory expansions underway and their evolution into a true multi-domain powerhouse, is the bull case already fully priced into the stock, or is this defense tech breakout literally just getting started? I really want you to think about how the demand for autonomous systems is going to shape the future as you weigh these numbers. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer today. I hope this breakdown was highly informative for you, and as always, keep learning.